Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Hey, good morning, Yolanda.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How was your weekend?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, that's good. And Charles,
Good
did
morning.
you have a good weekend?
Good morning, Dr. Constance. How was your weekend?
Fantastic.
Great.
Good
To know that you're looking bright after all.
Thank you. It went very well. Yourself too, when in the same colors.
Yes, exactly. But my weekend was actually pretty exhausting.
Oh, sorry about that.
Great.
Okay. So this morning we have to discuss the papers with us. Dr. Ibrahim Modibo is a media executive and public affairs commentator. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day. In This Day we have Blue Economy. FG pledges timely completion of $3 billion Agep deep sea port. The deep sea port is sited in Yenogwa, Bayelsa State. The port aligns with the President's blue and marine economy vision, and when completed, will serve as a major maritime gateway in the South region, says the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Mr. Adeboyega Oyetola. We know that there's the Lekki Deep Sea Port under construction. A new deep sea port is also proposed for Badagry, and now this one. These are all massive projects, and add to that the existing ones that are not functioning optimally. For instance, we have the Calabar, the One, and the Warri. These three are also in the South region. Dr. Modibo, what are your thoughts on this story?
Thank you very much, Dr. Constance, for this invitation to be here to review the press this morning. I thank you both, distinguished lady and gentlemen,
Welcome.
for making me very comfortable on this chair.
Welcome.
Yeah, having stated this, I think, Dr. Constance, the importance of blue economy cannot be overemphasized within the economic cycles of this country. Whether we like it or not, there is a need to expand the horizon of the economy of this country, not only sticking to oil or petrol. We have to diversify the economy when we look at the issue of solid minerals, and also look at the issue of the blue economy. Now, the blue economy, which is under the focus of this administration, is one that is very, very fundamental to the growth and development of Nigeria's economy. Seeing that the sea is one of the most fundamental and important areas of sustaining the economy globally. Almost every country that seems to, be growing in terms of economic indices lays its credence to the blue economy. And Nigeria cannot be an exception, because what we get from the sea or the blue economy is something that can add serious value to the economy of Nigeria. And therefore, I think we have to commend the government for its foresight of getting a ministry, to head this kind of economic cycle or economic arena that is very fundamental, that is very, very important to the aggregate views of the national economy in terms of improvement, in terms of its wherewithal, and in terms of increasing the fortunes of Nigerians who are feeling the brunt of the removal of petrol subsidy, the devaluation of the naira, and what have you. So I think the blue economy will fill in the gaps where the oil seems not to be performing very well, especially if you look at these days, the price of petrol is almost every time dropping, and therefore there's a need for us to focus on the blue economy to make sure that wherever or whichever area that needs to be improved upon should be done immediately so as to improve the fortunes of Nigeria. Thank you.
Oh, all right. So a very good point. There is need to focus on the blue and marine economy. However, we're also talking about functionality. Charles, if you want to come in here, I mentioned the three ports that we have in that south region, which haven't done so well. So if we're building new ones, yeah.
That's the point. I mean, Dr. Modibo has made the point that this is one aspect of the economy that if, with the necessary investment and attention, would actually compete with oil. I mean, the resource is there. But apparently, it's only the Lagos port at the moment that's actually functioning optimally. The rest of the ones available, Warri, Calabar, and Onea, I am not very sure they are functioning at the level of installed capacity or even a percentage of that. And that is what I find worrisome. Now there's another deep sea port again under construction in Bayelsa State. So it's as if, you know, we have lots of white elephant projects, even though they're not supposed to be. These are actually supposed to be very, very huge potentials. But unfortunately, we're not exploiting them, and then we're adding others. So it's as if, you know, the liabilities are increasing instead of the assets.
All right, let's move on to Daily Independent. FG races to pay 4 trillion naira debt to avert power infrastructure collapse. This followed high-stakes talks between Minister of Power and Chairman of Generating Companies of Nigeria, GENCOs. Government says payment of a substantial amount will be prioritized, while the balance will be defrayed through other debt instruments. The government here used the word prioritize, but dealings in the power sector in successive years probably indicates a lack of priority and major failings in a very critical sector, doesn't it, Dr. Modibo?
Dr. Constance, under globalization and multiculturalism such as ours, Nigeria is under no illusion as to the enormity of the myriad of problems confronting this country. And one of them, fundamentally, is that of power. It seems as if the power sector seems to be a kind of bottomless pit of infamy, where you always sink, it goes down, and it never fills up. Every time economy is being targeted towards, you know, the power sector, billions of dollars are being sunk, but there are no results. Look at just within last year, look at the kind of collapse of national grid that we've had, in spite of the humongous amount of monies that have been sunk into that sector. To me, as far as I'm concerned, I think the best thing is maybe we should even scrap the ministry and allow maybe investors to take over the whole thing, because it seems as if government is sinking without result. And therefore, we strongly believe that if other countries go to Ghana, go to Togo, very close countries to us, they are always having light. What is happening in Nigeria? Every time, even within the Federal Capital Territory, you don't have 24 hours light. It's a sad commentary in the development of this country. And therefore, the earlier we do things to nip in the bud the problems associated with power, the better. I think maybe the management too. We don't have a very competent management that will be able to look at the issues of power dispassionately with a view to bringing power very close to Nigerians. You see, we have options. Apart from going through the national grid, we have the solar energy in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria is one country that God has blessed it abundantly. We have the best flora and fauna. We have the best environment. We have the best sunshine and whatever. We can use it. We can also use the wind propelled power this thing, of which we're not doing. You see, there are a lot of potential that we should be able to tap, but we're not doing. But we are concentrating every time on the national grid, and this national grid is all collapsing. Oh my God, this country, we're in trouble.
All right, great comments from Dr. Modibo there. Let's see it, Sun newspaper, Daily Sun. IPOB demands reversal of group's proscription as terrorist. A spokesman of the indigenous people of Biafra, Emma Powerful, said the earlier ruling striking out the federal government suit against the organization after lack of evidence depicted it as unlawful. After a contested hearing where both parties were fully represented, Justice Nyako unequivocally found no evidence whatsoever to support the proscription claim that IPOB is an unlawful or proscribed society, said Powerful. Yolanda, I don't know if you followed this story. IPOB supporters, say their proscription is a kangaroo one. Others have said that, not so. How do you say this? I mean, it's important for them to drive home the fact that they are not a terrorist organization, but just any other organization in Nigeria that is fighting for what they call their rights.
Well, this is a story that I do not have a deep understanding in, but from the little that I know, I think something that is very important to note is being called a terrorist group is actually it's a heavy term. It's a heavy terminology. And in terms of international relations, it's important to see the bigger implications. And this designation affects Nigeria's international standing and relations with other countries, particularly with organizations that advocate for human rights. So I think that there's a lot that needs to be done before that type of terminology can be eliminated, because for it to be brought up in the first place means that there were actions to kind of get to that type of conclusion.
Yeah, definitely there were actions, Dr. Modibo. Yeah, during the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, that was when IPOB was proscribed, and a lot of people saw it as political because they were marching in the streets and protesting and wanting a referendum, but then it quickly became highly political or politicized, you know, and the killings that followed during that time before they were tagged a terrorist organization.
Dr. Constance, part of the worthy and outstanding narrative about the IPOB issue is lack of management of the crisis. Right from day one, we've not been able to get it managed very well properly. Have we been able to sit down as a nation to address some of the pitfalls, some of the problems associated with our nationalities? We're a country that God has abundantly blessed and brought people from different segments of the country. We have the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Hausas, the Tivs, so many tribes in Nigeria. We have different nationalities. Have we been able to sit down to iron out some of our fundamental problems? If you ask me, I'll tell you we have not been able to do that. And therefore, IPOB, having cropped up, I strongly believe it feels there has been injustice that has been done to the Southeast, and the only way to address it is maybe by way of protest. But the protests haven't taken a kind of militant viewpoint where we find this PSN or what have you that have been, you know, shooting people and killing those that are against its policies, where I have my pro-concern. However, they are issues of contention, whether we like it or not. Have we been able to integrate the Igbos into the mainstream of Nigerian politics since the amalgamation of Nigeria or after the Civil War? If you ask me, I think there's still a big question mark. We need a national consensus. We need to sit down together. We need to listen to them. Hear their problems. What are the fundamental issues cropping out from this IPOB to warrant this marching, to warrant these shootings, to warrant this instability in the nation? Therefore, I think the issue of imbalance, as it is today, right from the time of President Muhammadu Buhari up to the present, have we been able to address the issues of the Igbos? Have we been able to integrate them? Have we been able to give them the sense of being as Nigerians in terms of political appointments, in terms of them, you know, coming into the mainstream of Nigerian politics and also administration and justice? If you ask me, Dr. Constance, I will tell you that there is need for us to sit down as a nation and look at issues dispassionately. Let us address all feelings, cool down the frayed nerves, and then move forward as a nation.
All right, let's look at the Vanguard newspaper. Here, inflation erodes banks' profits, jacks up costs. The banks are recording operating expenses likely driven by inflationary pressures in the economy, while high interest rate monetary policy environment pushes up the bank's interest expenses. In spite of that, big banks are recording rising profits from the high interest rate regime, says this report. Charles, I mean, this is a reflection of the current times with the hardship spread across all businesses in Nigeria. Everyone is going through it, whether it's individuals and the businesses. The banks cannot be an exception, although they're still making money.
They're still making money, so I wonder what the complaint is about here. There are times when I look at my my phone and I see an alert, a deduction, and it's usually from a bank. I mean, one of my banks, both of them actually, because I have two different accounts, and they're always deducting this, deducting that. I have never complained, although of course there is the option of reaching out to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Maybe when I have it up to here, I'll do just that. But then of course they are doing a whole bunch of things, making profits, declaring very humongous profits, unless if they are saying that these profits are on paper, or probably the operational running costs are affecting these profits they're declaring. But I mean, it's the situation all over the place, and what I believe is that the banks are the ones, they have the money, so they are the ones that have the nation by the jugular. So whatever complaints they have, of course, everybody is complaining, but I think they are having a better deal than the rest of the nation's economy.
All right, let's move on to the Punch newspaper. A National Assembly counters a PDP governor's suit, demands 1 billion naira. The National Assembly urged the Supreme Court to dismiss the suit filed by 11 People's Democratic Party governors, challenging the declaration of a state of emergency by the president on March 18. The National Assembly described the suit of the governors as frivolous and speculative suit, and based on that asked for that 1 billion naira cost to be awarded against the plaintiffs. I mean, Dr. Modibo, is it your sense that this suit is not going anywhere? And of course, remember that part of the problem is that the emergency rule was ratified by a voice vote rather than a two-thirds majority, and there was a suspension of democratically elected government, replacing it with an unelected one.
Thank you, Dr. Constance, but I have a special interest in my brother's analysis on the banking system.
Yes,
just permit me just a minute or two to respond. Now, you see, the problem with the banking system in Nigeria is lack of sincerity or purpose. Honestly and sincerely, the banks are making billions upon billions as returns in terms of profit. What are they doing with it? It's not as if they're even paying their workers very well. You can see even the suits, tattered suits from some of the banking staff. Then, what are they doing? Always charges upon charges, everything, every minute that you call, there are charges. They remove this one, they remove that one. What are they complaining about? There are friendly policies made by the governor of Central Bank, Mr. Cardoso, to make sure that the banking system, operates within a friendly environment. I don't know what they're complaining about. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's just like Oliver Twist, always looking for more and more and more. Now, let me go back to the central issue that has to do with the National Assembly.
Yes.
You see, the National Assembly, as far as I'm concerned, is just dancing to the rhyme and rhythm of the government at the center. It is very unfortunate. They are supposed to be the representative of the people, having the yearnings and feelings of the people and also their aspirations. This state of emergency, is it constitutional? Is it going in tandem with the feelings of the people? Just look at recently, just last week, the wife of the administrator in Rivers, who was to represent the first lady, was to make a speech. Yes. But immediately all the women stood up and got out of the place. That is to tell you, they are false lines, that people are not appreciative of anything military or anything that has to do with, that can uproot the democratic structure. They want democracy, and they are in tune and in sync with democracy. And therefore, for the National Assembly to start challenging the governors, I think that is the height of insincerity, and that is the height of callousness, quote unquote, towards the Nigerian people. I strongly believe that there is no need for the National Assembly to go to court. Let the executive go to court, because it's the executive motion, but the National Assembly is jumping the gun. So to me, for the National Assembly to take the governors to court, I think it is a great disservice to this country, because the governors are patriotic in their quest for nationalistic intervention in process of good governance. They believe that this is something that needs to go to court to be resolved once and for all. Otherwise,
it will happen again.
If your house is on fire, if your neighbor has not come to help you, sometime another day it could be his turn. Therefore, all these governors are afraid that, look, the president can use the wherewithal of the National Assembly, which seems to look like a lapdog of the presidency. Whatever the presidency wants, it gets 100%. And therefore, who knows, tomorrow, Bauchi, Gombe or Adama could also be in that of position, even if the governors are in opposition to the government policy. So I think it is a very fair comment. They should go to court, and then the Supreme Court should, as a matter of emergency, because as it is now, there's lackluster, approach to the issue. I want the case to be determined in the next 1 week or two, so that we'll have a free breeze. Okay,
let's see whether that happens, that the case is determined very quickly. Let's move on to Leadership newspaper. Meta's $220 million fine signals new era in digital regulation, NPAN. We know that the federal government slammed this fine on Meta after a 30-month investigation between 2021 and 2023 for unauthorized data sharing and discriminatory practices against Nigerian users. The Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria describes this fine as a significant milestone in Nigeria's effort to enforce digital accountability and protect the rights of citizens in the digital age. Yolanda, I think that the NPAN has a point here. It's about accountability, it's about sharing of data unauthorized, and so this is an important one for the government of Nigeria and for the people. Whether this, how far this goes, whether they get the money is another thing entirely.
Exactly, it goes without saying. I mean, our data laws have to be respected, and I like that we're standing firm on, on this and making sure that we keep emphasizing that, look, our data restrictions and our data laws, confidentiality, all of that needs to be protected. I think it's a very straightforward story, and I pray that the right outcome comes out of it.
But I also pray that the Nigerian judiciary should also extend this justice to other sectors, including politics. You know what I mean?
Do you mean when it comes to data?
No, I mean, I'm saying when it comes to data, they've delivered judgment. When it comes to politics and probably law enforcement, it becomes a different thing altogether. Otherwise, they wouldn't be taking the kind of bashing they've been receiving lately.
All right, let's move on to the international headlines. Daily Graphic this morning, 2025 World Press Freedom Day. Government assures journalists of safety. This is to ensure the culture of freedom of speech and access to information among the public, says the government of Ghana. Then Citizen newspaper, DA on its way out of government of national unity. Growing calls from the African National Congress caucus for the Democratic Alliance to be kicked out of the GNU is getting louder. This is said to be part of the jockeying for positions ahead of the party's 2027 elective national conference, especially Deputy President Paul Mashatile's campaign to succeed President Cyril Ramaphosa. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in here, but some see the DA as an equal partner in this government of national unity, and they cannot be kicked out. And then there's also factionalization of the ANC, which is damaging to the party.
Please allow me to jump in here, but I would also like to go back to the previous story as well about the World Press Freedom Day. It's one thing for a government to give assurances to journalists. I think we spoke extensively about this last week. It's another thing to actually act on it. It's good to commemorate these days, but to actually put action into it is another thing altogether. And if it really is true and there is good follow through, this is good on an international stage as well, because I think this would align with the global standards for press, for freedom of press, and potentially this could improve the country's outlook and how people see, dealing with the press in Africa. We hear so many stories about how journalists are detained when they say the wrong thing or they face different types of repercussions, and I hope that the government of Ghana is able to follow through as the assurances that it gives. When it comes to the DA on its way out of the GNU, I smile because this looks a lot like the situation that is going on in Nigeria. With the decamping, it's just different words, but it's essentially the same thing. Politics is a very messy game, and one day you can be here, next time you're in a different position altogether. And this is just a bigger reflection of how the political landscape is across Africa.
All right.
Now, let me jump in on the
very quickly.
Yeah, freedom of the press. One of the fundamentals of the media is the issue of education, information, entertainment, and also setting an agenda to the government. These are fundamentals of the media. And therefore, any government that feels short of expectations from these fundamentals is not doing the right thing. So I'm so happy that the government in Ghana is giving a kind of leeway for the media to operate without let or hindrance. As we see in countries, maybe in Nigeria, sometimes you see the beauty of democracy is where we have even this social media. Although it has its own side effects, but it also has its own importance because of its timeliness, because of the speed, and also because of the information it gives within a short time. Unlike the conventional media that tends to wait for some time, you have to go to press and do all that. However, one thing that should be very important in any developing nation, especially within democracy, is the freedom of the press.
Right.
Any country that does not give freedom of the press is as good as collapsing the system of democracy.
Okay, very quickly, the Times, a fight of reform with higher taxes and spending, PM told. I mean, this refers to the UK, that saw a spectacular rise following huge wins in the recent elections for Nigel Farage's party, the Reform UK. So Labour Party, I think, will be struggling. And then we move on to finally Daily Star. Don slashes NASA budget. Trump dumps ET. NASA budget is being cut by 4.5 billion pounds, meaning key research budgets will shrink by 1/3 to 1/2 in 2026 planning. I will run out of time to discuss this, but Dr. Ibrahim Modibo, media executive and public affairs commentator, this is your first time joining us on Newspaper Review. We're so glad to have you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful experience being here, honestly. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku, for leading today's newspaper review. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.